With the new season just round the corner, at this point I'm usually getting excited. I'm usually really looking forward to the EFL kicking off next weekend. Funnily enough, Southampton take on Sheffield Wednesday on Friday night, so the ideal of West Ham's bid in pursuit of Ward-Prowse is not perfect timing, but I do think it's in Saints' best interest to get this wrapped up ASAP so they can focus on their campaign. It's definitely in West Ham's best interest as well, get this done sharpish, but we'll discuss the bid itself. Then the following weekend, the Premier League's back, West Ham's back. Usually at this point, my excitement is building gradually. Every single day, I'm that little bit more excited to see West Ham come back. Friday night, I'll be watching Southampton, Sheffield Wednesday, excited to see West Ham back. But today, it's not just today, it's up until today as well, but today, right now, it doesn't really exist. That excitement is it's forced, it's fake, it feels a little bit fake, it's not what it usually is, and there's a few reasons for that, but the main one is the lack of signings. That's it. To be fair, it's the lack of signing singular, the lack of replacement for Declan Rice. That is what's dragging my mood down. I don't like it. I'm trying my best. You might not believe it, right? But I'm trying my best not to be downbeat and grumpy, because essentially I'm getting grumpy over something that might not even exist when we go to play Bournemouth. We might have signed 2 or 3 players before we play Bournemouth, so this grumpiness I'm feeling at the minute might not even be applicable then. But right now I am concerned, and it's got nothing to do with us losing last night. I caught most of the friendly, and the results don't matter. We all remember winning all the pre-season games under Avram Grant, and we all know what happened. So the results itself don't bother me. I'm completely unimpacted by it. There's 2 things I look for in pre-season when it comes to West Ham. First of all is match practice, let's call it that. What's the manager trying? Is he trying a new formation? Are players playing in different positions? And the one thing for West Ham this pre-season, which I've liked a lot, is the introduction of Mubama. It feels like he's a first team player now. It feels like Mubama is part of that first team squad. Only he, out of all the youngsters, it's only Mubama, but I like it. But anyway, the players use it for match sharpness to get ready for the start of the season. That's fine. All that stuff's applicable. The second part is the new signings. But let's be real, that's what we look forward to in the friendlies. We look forward to the youngsters getting opportunities. Is there anyone we should keep our eye out from the academy? Mubama. Potts has caught the eye. It's good to see him go out on loan. Hopefully he has a good season at Wickham. But you look at the kids coming through the academy and them getting a chance in pre-season, and then second is the signings. Obviously there's none of them, so it's difficult to get excited, but that's what pre-season's for, getting ready and getting the new ones bedding in. And it's hard not to see, I know, take Brighton with Yao Pedro settling in, scoring goals already for them pre-season. It's hard not to look at that and think, well, that's them, they're prepared, they've done their business early, they're prepared for the start of the season, whereas we are not. And when it comes to but anyway, what I will say about the friendlies, like I said, I discard most of it. The thing that concerns me is there's a lot of similarities, the way we played last night and the way we played against Tottenham compared to the way that we played last season under David Moyes. The style of play has continued, and that's a little bit of a concern. I say a little bit, it's a big concern. I'm trying not to get grumpy, it's only pre-season, but like I said, when you've witnessed it in competitive football for about 18 months now, it's difficult not to carry on even though it's pre-season friendlies. And that's what's capping my excitement so far, that and lack of signing, the middle of the pitch. Because while I think we need a centre-back, we don't need a centre-back for the Bournemouth game. We're fine. Agard, Zuma, Kerr, but we're fine. I think we need one in before the transfer window closes, but we can go get that centre-back in the last week of August. It's not that big a deal. It's the middle of the pitch. Right now, our options for Bournemouth is Downs, Soucek and Connor Coventry. And that terrifies me, really. But the worst thing about it is there's just no excuse. There is absolutely no reason that we are in this position right now. I understand Dithering Dave likes to take his time in the transfer window. Sullivan's pretty crap at negotiations. That historically, Moyes does business late. West Ham do business late. So as a combination, that's going to happen. You throw Steiden into the mix, it's just going to have further complications, further delays to West Ham doing transfer business. But even with all that in there, there's still no reason that we shouldn't have our centre midfielder in already. This should have been sorted months ago. This should have been identified and sorted, and it's concerning me a lot. And the James Ward-Prowse transfer in particular worries me a lot. I'll get onto that in just a second. Before I do, this video is sponsored by the One Football app. It's the best place to keep up to date with all your latest West Ham news and who West Ham are targeting in the transfer window. Obviously a £20 million bid supposedly rejected by Manchester United for Harry Maguire. The James Ward-Prowse thing is ongoing at the minute. So expect West Ham to be busy over the next few days in the transfer market, putting in bids, probably going to get rejected, but you can keep up to date with it all on the One Football app. It's completely free and it sort of combines the concept of social media with football. So when you download it, it says what do you want to follow, who do you want to follow, and what do you want to follow. You choose your teams, you choose your competitions, you choose your countries, and they give you the news specific to who you request. Like I said, it's completely free. There's no sign-ups once you're on the app. It remains free. Please do use the link in the description or the QR code that's on your screen right now so they know you've come from Hamish Chat. So you support the channel by downloading a fantastic free app. Everyone's a winner. But anyway, the James Ward-Prowse thing. Let's put to one side how I feel about Ward-Prowse, how I feel about buying James Ward-Prowse. I'm putting it all to one side, right? I've made my opinions clear about him in enough videos in the past. But to summarise, I think he's a decent player. At 20, 25 million, I think that would be a good signing. Anything more than that, I think is a bit expensive for what he brings. But I'm trying not to get to the point where I'm desperate. I never got to that point last season with David Moyes where it was anyone but David Moyes. I didn't want Rafa Benitez. I would have rather had David Moyes over Rafa Benitez. I wasn't at the point of anyone but Moyes. And I'm not at the point of just get a centre midfielder in for the sake. I'm not at that point because I don't want to see us waste the money. But putting everything I think about Ward-Prowse and the potential deal to one side. What concerns me? Well, there's two things. First of all, is what we've done to Flynn Downs in the process. But secondly, and we'll talk about that first. I hope this makes sense, right? Stick with me. I have no issues with clubs taking advantage of situations. So, for example, Carlos Borges. How long we've been chasing him? How long have we been after him? How long have we known he's potentially available to purchase from Manchester City? I do not know. But at some point, Rob Newman is supposedly the one that's highlighted him to West Ham, but let's just go with this. So at some point last season, Rob Newman said, there's a guy from Manchester City, we should go get him because he's only got a year to go on his contract to City, he's not going to sign a new one, let's go get him. So that's West Ham taking advantage of a situation. So when a club gets relegated, those situation arises. Would we have ever gone for Harvey Barnes if Leicester weren't relegated? It's unlikely, because Leicester would have said 50, 60 million please, but because they got relegated, they can't do that. You know what I'm trying to say. When teams go down, there's a fire sale, it's vultures. It's essentially a great place for clubs, Premier League clubs, to go and pick up a bargain. We know that. So I have no problem when West Ham went after Harry Barnes, I thought, fantastic, this is what we should be doing, taking a look at the players available from the relegated clubs and trying to pick up a bit of a bargain. Happy days, right? Southampton go down. If we were going after Tino Livramento, we were going after Bella-Kotchap, we were going after someone like that, we were taking advantage of Southampton being relegated. Great, fantastic. But there's no way in hell we should be relying on a situation at another club in order to replace Declan Rice. 12 months ago, we bid for James Ward-Prowse, or we went after James Ward-Prowse. Southampton said 50 million please, and we decided, whoa, that's way too rich, he's not worth that, we're going to look elsewhere, and it's the right thing to do. But between then and now, the only thing we should have been doing ahead of this summer's transfer window, not the only one, but the main thing we should have been doing was looking at how to replace Declan Rice. Who and how many? So who's coming in, where are we getting them from, and are we buying a defensive midfielder and a centre midfielder, or are we looking for the most Declan Rice-like player in order to come in so we only have to buy one player? We've had ages to get prepared for this. We all knew he was leaving, and when I say we all, I don't mean the fan base, I mean everybody at the club. The players at West Ham knew he was leaving, everyone at the club. Moyes has spoken about it, Sullivan spoke about it, Noble spoke about it. This is the least surprising transfer that I can remember in a long, long time. Now, I don't necessarily mean Rice joining Arsenal, I mean Rice leaving West Ham. We knew it was happening ages ago. As a club that's making the sale, surely this is like dreamland situation. Obviously, you'd rather not sell Declan Rice. You'd rather Declan Rice remains. But if you accept that Rice is leaving at some point, a 12 months heads up for Declan Rice off the back of a gentleman's agreement puts you in the best position possible in order to replace Declan Rice. There's no surprise to the sale. You've got 12 months to get ready. You've got 12 months to do your scouting, to do everything that you need to do to hone in on your targets, your top 5. I don't know how you want to do it, but to pick out the targets to replace Declan Rice, to get ready for no Declan Rice. The club couldn't have had a better situation. They got a minimum of a year's notice. So then to come into the summer transfer window, there's literally no excuse. There is none whatsoever. The club knew 100% they were going to get minimum 90 million for Declan Rice. They knew that. So they knew that they would have known how much money they've got to spend. At least 90 million is what we've got to spend. We know what we need to go get. I struggle to think of any excuse to not have identified Declan Rice's replacements. And then I struggle to think of any excuse not to have gone and got them. Like I said, I don't mind us not having the centre-back in place already. I don't mind us exploring, potentially selling Aaron Cresswell to Wolves, but because that's fallen through, we can't go get the replacement for Aaron Cresswell. I accept that. That's fine. I don't have an issue with us not getting another left-back in the summer transfer window yet. But not to have the centre midfield situation at West Ham is completely different to every other position in the squad at West Ham when it comes to the transfer window. And it just feels like this Ward-Prowse bid is us trying to take advantage of Southampton getting relegated. So with all that heads up, with all that preparation we should have done, the answer to replacing Declan Rice is let's take advantage of Southampton getting relegated. And it just stresses me out. It shouldn't matter who got relegated from the Premier League as to who's coming in to replace Declan Rice. And this Ward-Prowse bid feels like we're only getting Ward-Prowse because he's cheap. We're only going after Ward-Prowse because Southampton got relegated. And it feels like compromise. And if there's ever a time to not compromise on who you bring in at West Ham United, it's to replace Declan Rice. Because this is crucial. Getting this right could be the difference between West Ham being in a relegation battle and not. That's how significant it feels to me. And I'm not even talking about the captaincy here. I'm not even talking about who wears the captain's armband. I'm talking about who replaces Declan Rice in the starting 11 on a Saturday afternoon, and that is it. I'm keeping it as simple as possible. But this replacement is crucial. This replacement is massive, and we had to get it right. And the worst thing about it is while everyone knew Declan Rice was going, nobody had faith. Reading the comments over the last months, every video, whenever you did one about replacing Declan Rice, the general consensus of the comments were there's no faith in David Moyes and there's no faith in David Sullivan or West Ham in general to get this right, to get this replacement right. There was an element of surprise at how well David Sullivan's done to get 105 million out of Arsenal, and people credited him with that and said fair play to him, you've done well there, you've got the money, now let's go and do it. And it's possible to give him credit for receiving 105 million, but also criticise him for the lack of replacement coming in, because that's where I am. I think he did well to get that much, but I'll tell you what, I think he's absolutely stuffed it up in regards to getting the replacement in. It should have been done ages ago. To get to this point is inexcusable, and I'm genuinely worried that our answer is Ward-Prowse because Southampton got well. It should not matter. It should not matter whatsoever. Now, I'm aware that plans can change, that if Scott McTominay perhaps was the number one target, and we thought, oh, hang on a minute, Southampton might get relegated, 30 million between McTominay and Ward-Prowse, we might be better. I get that, but why has the bid gone in 2 weeks before Southampton's first game of the season, not 2 weeks after their final game of the season? If Ward-Prowse was the number one target, these bids could have been going in before Declan Rice was even sold, which would suggest to me that he wasn't the number one target. We are only bidding to take advantage of Southampton's situation, or the number one target, number two target, whatever. They're too pricey for us. We can't afford them. And I think as a result, bidding for Ward-Prowse concerns me a lot. And like I said, this is putting to one side if I think he's a good player, if he's worth the money. I'm putting that to one side, and I'm trying to look at almost like the journey to West Ham bidding for James Ward-Prowse. And we know we've bid. Wilcox has confirmed it. It's 100%. We have bid for Ward-Prowse. We'll go back in again. Like I said, this transfer feels like it's going to happen now. It's got a little bit of the Declan Rice to Arsenal feel about it for me now. But the second thing that concerns me, and I won't elaborate on it too much, is us trying to include Flynn Downs. Now, I know this is old news, but Gonzo covered it. I don't like doing the same video as Gonzo on the same day, because sometimes we have the same opinion. You're getting the same thing twice. But second of all, there's lots of news. So I'm like, I'll do that tomorrow. By tomorrow, there's a new big story. But when I saw us trying to include Flynn Downs in the deal, Now, maybe Southampton said, can we have Flynn Downs? And we've gone, yeah, okay. And Downs has turned around and said, no, I don't fancy that move. That's slightly different. Southampton requesting Flynn Downs and us accepting it is one thing. But us trying to include Flynn Downs in it is a completely different one. But hypothetically, if the latter has happened, and we've tried to put Flynn Downs in there in order to decrease the monetary value of the transfer, and Flynn has turned around and said, no, I don't want to go to Southampton, I'm going to stay and fight for my place at West Ham, then first of all, fair play to him, good on him, I like that. And I think I've got a lack of faith in him being good enough to be our number one defensive midfielder at West Ham. I was relatively happy with what I've seen from him last season. I think he could have had more chances at West Ham. But the problem was the person in front of Flynn Downs was Declan Rice. Flynn Downs isn't a replacement for Soucek. I struggled. There were some games I wouldn't have minded Downs getting a crack, but you would have had to move Rice over. You'd have essentially had to put Downs in and put Rice into Thomas Soucek's role in order to drop Thomas Soucek. But I could never bring myself to say, yeah, take Soucek out and put Downs in, please, and play the same way. Didn't really feel it would work, that one. But I don't. So, is Downs good enough to replace Declan Rice at defence midfield? I'm not convinced. Hopefully he is, and if he gets a chance, I hope he takes it. He'll get a chance against Bournemouth. Even if we sign someone, I'd imagine he might get a chance, and I hope he grabs it. Why wouldn't you want to see him do well at West Ham? West Ham fan, everybody's rooting for him. But it doesn't mean that you have to have faith in him. You can still want him to do really well, but think that he's not quite good enough, because that's where I am. Good enough to be a squad player? Yeah. Do I want to sell him? No. I think he's a squad player at West Ham, can play here and there, can offer something to the team. But is he undroppable? Is he straight into the starting 11? No. He's a bit like, I don't know, a bit like what Lanzini was, a bit like what Pablo Fornals is currently. Do I think Fornals is good enough to start? Not really. But do I want to sell? No, not really, because I think he's got a lot to offer at the club. But I just hope that if we have tried to shoehorn him into the deal, that it's not impacted him too much. I can't imagine it's a nice feeling as a player when your club tries to offer you up as a bargaining chip to buy someone. That's got to be a dent to your confidence. That's got to be a show of little faith, whether it be from your manager or the football club in general. But like I said, I don't know if West Ham tried to offer Flynn Downs or Southampton said we'll take Downs as part of it. Unsure. But what we do know is that Downs rejected the move, and like I said, good on him, and I hope he succeeds. I'm just a little bit, I've got reservations about whether he's good enough or not. I still think we need a defensive midfielder, and I still think we need a more centre midfielder. Ward-Prowse feels like he's going to be that centre mid. He's not a defensive mid, I will say that. Soucek next to Ward-Prowse. I can't pretend I'm confident. I can't pretend that I'm, that'll sort it out. No. Can Soucek play defensive midfield? Not really. I think there's more evidence to suggest he's not, despite the fact that the defensive side of his game is his stronger one, and physicality is really good at that role. But I just think we need somebody else in there. So, Soucek, Downs and Paqueta as a 3 against Bournemouth worries me. Soucek, Ward-Prowse and Paqueta as a 3 worries me a little bit less, but still worries me. Downs, Ward-Prowse and Paqueta on par with the other options. We'll have to wait and see. It's not a good time, but my concern, like I said, I'm not. While it would be nice to see if we had made 2 signings by now, we'd signed Borghese and we'd signed a really good defensive midfielder or a really good centre midfielder, I'd probably be excited for the new season. But we haven't. At the minute, David Moyes' centre midfield options for the Premier League campaign kicking off is Flynn Downs, Thomas Soucek and Connor Coventry. And as a result of that, I just find it difficult to get excited for the Bournemouth game, and I find it difficult not to be really worried. But what I will say is I'm quite optimistic we will start doing business, but only because we have to. We have to buy players. We will buy players. It just doesn't mean that it's the players you want to see. We will buy them, but whether in time for Bournemouth or not, we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, there's my grump. Hopefully it makes sense. But if you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like and subscribe if you're new to Hammer's Chat. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully a more positive one. But it feels a bit unlikely at this moment.